He thought today would be just like any other day. A quiet meal by himself, a moment of solitude to escape the noise of the world. He walked into the small diner, the kind with faded checkered floors, the aroma of sizzling bacon, and coffee that smelled like comfort. The waitress smiled at him, recognizing the lone figure who came in every day, always ordering the same, a plate of eggs, toast, and a strong black coffee. He found his usual spot by the window, the sunlight casting a soft glow across the table. For him, it was routine. Predictable. Safe. He settled into his seat, placing his hands on the table, ready to savor the moment. Life had been hard, but these small moments of quiet gave him peace. He was lost in thought, reflecting on the struggles, the sacrifices, the long hours spent trying to make ends meet. He had learned to survive on his own, relying on no one, trusting no one. For him, independence wasn't just a choice, it was a shield. As the waitress brought his breakfast, he began to eat, each bite mechanical, almost absent-minded. But then, he heard the soft shuffle of footsteps behind him. At first, he ignored it, thinking it was just another customer looking for a table. But then, he heard a small, hesitant voice, "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" He turned slowly and saw them, a mother, weary but determined, holding the hand of a small boy. The boy's eyes were wide, filled with a mix of shyness and hunger, the kind of hunger that goes beyond the stomach. It's the hunger that weighs on the heart, that makes the world feel heavier. The mother smiled nervously, glancing at him with hope. "My son is hungry," she said softly. "Could we, maybe stay here for a while?" He froze, unsure of what to say. In his mind, he had prepared for solitude, for silence, for being alone with his thoughts. And yet, looking at the boy, he saw something that shook that resolve. Vulnerability, innocence, a plea that transcended words. He hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Of course," he said. "You can sit here." The mother's relief was palpable. She guided her son to the booth, sitting across from him. The boy looked at the plate of food before him with wide eyes, as if it were a treasure he had never imagined. The man pushed his plate slightly closer to the boy, a silent gesture of generosity. It was simple, yet profound. As the boy began to eat, the man watched quietly. Something shifted inside him, a warmth he hadn't felt in years. The loneliness that had once felt comforting now seemed heavy. There was a connection forming, subtle but undeniable. The boy looked up, cheeks full of food, and smiled. It was the kind of smile that melts the hardest hearts, that makes even the most guarded soul feel something deeper, something real. The mother thanked him softly, her eyes glistening. They didn't need to say much. The gesture, the shared meal, spoke louder than words. They talked quietly, stories exchanged between bites and sips of coffee. The man learned the boy's name, the little victories and small joys of his day, the worries his mother carried silently. Each story, each laugh, each glance brought a ripple of humanity he had forgotten existed in his own life. Time passed, though it felt suspended in that little booth. Outside, the world rushed by, cars honking, people bustling, but inside, there was a calm he hadn't known he needed. When the boy finished his meal, he leaned back in his seat, satisfied and content. The mother reached over and squeezed the man's hand gently, a silent thank you that said more than words ever could. He realized then that life had a way of teaching lessons when you least expected them. That day, he had come seeking solitude, but he left with something far greater, a sense of connection, of purpose, of empathy. It was a reminder that kindness, even the smallest act, could ripple through lives in ways unimaginable. The mother and son left the diner, hand in hand, smiling at each other, and at the man who had given them a moment of peace. He watched them go, a feeling of fulfillment settling in his chest. For the first time in a long time, he didn't feel the weight of loneliness pressing down. He felt a part of something bigger, a part of a shared human experience that reminded him why we care, why we connect, why we give. The next morning, he returned to the diner, expecting his usual solitude. But as he walked in, he saw them again, the mother and son, waving at him from a table by the window. They had come back, not out of necessity, but because of the bond that had formed. And in that moment, he understood something profound. Sometimes, the people we least expect to change our lives are the ones who need a little kindness the most. From that day on, the diner was never quite the same for him. It was no longer just a place to eat alone, but a place where connections were made, where lives intertwined, where humanity shone through the smallest gestures. The boy's laughter became a part of his routine, the mother's grateful smile a light in the mundane. And with each shared meal, he discovered that the world, though imperfect, held moments of grace and generosity waiting to be embraced. He realized that life's true richness doesn't come from solitude or material possessions, but from the courage to open one's heart to others. To share, to give, to accept, to be present. That small act of letting a mother and her hungry child sit with him had transformed not just their day, but his life. It was a reminder that compassion is contagious, that one gesture can change everything, that the warmth of human connection can heal even the most guarded hearts. And as the sun set over the diner, casting long shadows across the checkered floor, he sat back, a quiet smile on his face, knowing that sometimes, the greatest nourishment comes not from food alone, but from the simple act of opening your heart to someone else. Because that day, he thought he would eat alone, but instead, he discovered something far more fulfilling: the power of kindness, the beauty of connection, and the reminder that no one truly thrives in isolation. And in that moment, with the sounds of laughter and conversation filling the air, he knew that he had finally tasted something life-changing, humanity at its finest.